Welcome to the Digital Social Hour. I'm here with my co-host Charlie Cavalier and our guest today, Blake Wynn.
I appreciate you having me.
Of course. How we doing?
Oh man, this is gonna be fun. It's been way too long since I've seen you, so it's gonna be nice to have a nice chat.
Yeah. So you grew up in Vegas. Let's talk about how that was like.
Yeah. So I'll say this. I had a way different upbringing in Las Vegas than most people. My family built the Wynn Resort. So long before I was even a thought in my parents' minds, my family was doing some amazing things here in town. And so when I was born, from the time that I can remember, I've always had this whole legacy to live up to that a lot of people probably don't have from the time they're 3 or 4 years old. And so that's dictated a lot of my life ever since, trying to, when I was real young, I thought, man, this could be a lot to live up to. And I started my first business when I was 11 years old. And then it hit me. I said, well, I don't want to be in the hotel business, so there's nothing for me to live up to. I'm not going to go try and build a better building than Steve ever built. So now what I want to try and do is I want to build a bigger legacy than Steve ever built. Not in knocking what he's done. I think the world of what he's done, but in reference to the idea that I have no interest in just being oh, that's his nephew, so you should do X, Y, or Z with him. If the day I die, someone says, you want to know something crazy about Blake? Steve Wynn was his uncle. That would be the win for me. And so since I was a little kid, that's dictated a lot of my life ever since.
Wow. So yeah, you're under immense family pressure from the success of your uncle. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's in its own way. It's not really pressure. No one's ever pushed me to be an entrepreneur. Besides Steve, none of them are entrepreneurs. My dad was an operator for a while. Worked with Steve. My mom was originally a doctor of pharmacy before I was born, and when my parents got divorced when I was 10, I ended up being raised more so by my mom, and so she learned how to be an options trader. So she's done that for the last 10, 12 years. That was about the same time I started my business. So it came naturally to me. It's what I've always wanted to do. But the big thing in our family is whatever you're going to do, you got to be the best at it. My brother tried being a pro golfer at one point. And I remember my family sat him down and says, you can't be a pro golfer because you can't beat Tiger. And you're not going to be a pro golfer if you can't be the best. And that's the kind of pressure and that's the kind of mindset my family has.
Wow.
When you started off, did you want to be the best with the sneaker trading, or did you take a passion that you just figured out a way you could make money on?
I think that is the beauty of being raised the way that I was, is money's never really been much of a motivator to me, if I'm being completely honest. For me, I did always want to be the best at it. I had a passion for sneakers, and so that was a little bit different. It was also at a time where my life changed very dramatically, I'll be honest. I grew up in a 15,000 square foot house. There was nothing my parents would have said no to. I mean, it was the most unbelievable way to grow up. When my family got divorced, ended up being raised by my mom. She got truthfully nothing, and so literally moved out of the 15,000 square foot house and actually lived in a hotel room at the Red Rock because Fertitas are good family friends for about a year while she learned how to options trade so she could start making some money again. And and I started the sneaker business around the same time because it went from, hey, can I have an iPad? Sure, to all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna have McDonald's, we're gonna have ramen tonight. Literally, that was how on its head my entire life changed. And so originally it was kind of okay, maybe we want to make a little bit of money, but more so I was really into sneakers and I didn't feel like there was any experience with it. When you bought a pair of sneakers on the internet back then, remember, no StockX, no Go, those things didn't exist till 2016, 17. So when you bought sneakers on eBay, there was no personal relationship that you'd build with the seller or rather the buyers if you were the seller. There was none of that interaction. And so my thinking was, if I can come up with a way where there's going to be interaction here, I'll be the best at this. I looked at it as well, for as big of a market as this is, the competition to separate yourself as the best is non-existent because everyone just does it the exact same way. And so I was yeah, I'm 11, but literally I'm so what? So what? The guys that are 30 do it the same way as me at 11, same way as a dude who's maybe 78 that's doing it. So what's the difference, what the age is or what anything else? And so I cracked the code on that in 2016. And look, I mean, I did well selling on eBay, I was top rated and stuff like that. And I had these little things I did where, I'd handwrite a personal note to them. And I can't imagine what these adults that got a handwritten note from a 12-year-old, thank you for buying my sneakers. I hate to admit this, but it's not actually my parents' eBay, it's my eBay. I mean, people are probably what is this? And they're probably throwing it away. But in 2016, we cracked the code. I had one person working with me. I had an assistant, the same assistant from the time I was 14 till I was 21 years old. And her and I cracked the code. And we basically said, what if we start a YouTube channel where we showcase these sneakers and we make it an experience to buy it? Because now you're not just buying a sneaker, but you're buying a sneaker that I'm showing you a video of, so you don't have to just judge the quality or whatever based on the pictures. And At the same time, if it can get viewership, well, next thing you know, you're your own marketing platform. And mind you, this is 2016, so summer of 17 is really when the Logan and Jake Paul and all that took off on eBay, on YouTube. So really the biggest thing was like Casey Neistat, at least to me. I don't know if you guys know Casey Neistat.
Yeah.
So Casey was just world-class vlogger. And I thought to myself, what if you mixed sneakers with vlogging? It had never been done before. Like they had channels like Nice Kicks that would go and they would go visit, some big A or B list celebrity and have them show off their sneaker closet. You'd have Complex Sneaker Shopping wasn't even out yet, but when that just started at that time, same thing. They just take celebrity, they shop, that's it. What if you had someone every day, straight to the face, Casey Neistat style vlogging, but the subject matter is sneakers, men's fashion, etc., and at the same time have it come from a person who looks identical to the demographic. I was 16 years old at the time. That's the demo, right? You had people like, like these Nice Kicks and stuff with George Keel, not knocking these people, but these guys are 30 years old and they have tons of money, but the market is that 14 to 21 year old that's watching the YouTube. So why not take the totally different approach? And we were right on the money with that. 45 days in, I had 10,000 subscribers. 6 months after that, 100,000. Went on my first tour a year to the day after starting the channel. Met over 1,000 people in each city in 25 cities.
Wow.
And ended up with over 1 million followers across socials in the 2.5 years that I did that. And so it totally worked. I ended up stopping the reselling because it was a much better business just being an influencer and kind of creating the lane there. But yeah. That's
amazing. Sneakers hold their value pretty well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make up numbers about sneakers as an asset class. They're not, I would say this, look, it's not artwork and it's not watches, but it's the artwork and watches for the people that can't afford artwork and watches. If you're an art collector and you want a piece that's going to appreciate, you need a Picasso, you need a Warhol, you need a Monet. You need a piece that costs like millions, if not high six figures, right?
Right.
Now, if you're a sneaker collector and you buy, perfect example, when the Off-White Jordan 1 Chicago came out, that day, you could have walked into Urban Necessities. I'm not knocking their prices. I'm not saying they're overpriced. But you could have walked into a prominent resale store and paid $1,200, $1,300 for that pair of shoes. Today, 2 years later on StockX, they're worth $8,000, $9,000 brand new.
Wow.
Red Octobers. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a pair of Red Octobers. I just sold because it's one of those things, how do you not? I bought them for $2,900, worn once in 2016 on a YouTube video. And I sold them last year, truthfully, I don't want to say beat up, but worn a lot for, I think, $6,900.
Wow.
Because it's one of those things that the sought after products do well. Relatively speaking as well, the percentage return you can get is pretty massive, right? If a shoe that goes from $200 to $240, that's a pretty substantial return, right? You look at bonds, look at T-bills, look at interest rate. You look at all these different things. 20% it's a big return you can all of a sudden get. But
yeah, you just got the Lamellos and they went up like right away.
Yeah, I bought like the Rick and Morty Lamellos like a couple years ago when they came out. I got them right off of StockX right away. I wore them a bunch because I wear my shoes, and I checked later, they're like $400 or $500 now. And I feel like shoes are one of the things where if you never wear them, if you never use them, a lot like other stuff, they always go up in value, or at least, especially if it's an iconic brand, Nike, Jordan, a Bape drop or something like that. Like if you don't use them, they almost always go up in value.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not going to appreciate if you wear it. There's I could count on my fingers the shoes that appreciate if you wear it. Air Mags, Nike Yeezys, Off-White Jordan 1s, and they don't appreciate because you wore it, but they'll continue to appreciate if worn. That's more so my point. But yeah, the thing about it is the item needs a story. As long as the item has a story, it's going to go up. And that's no different with art, watches, shoes, etc. Right? That Lamello's going up because Lamello's playing well, and they remember, man, I remember when he was 18 years old, and it was weird seeing him in a Hornets uniform. And next thing you know, he's wearing the shoe, and now I've got the shoe that he wore in that first game, and that's the story behind it. It's why the LeBron 10 championship edition, when he wins that second title with the Heat, that shoe still to this day holds a $2,000 price point, but no one really cared about the season they were in the bubble and all that stuff. So his championship shoes from that year are they're Nike LeBrons. They're worth $200, the same that they were worth when they first came out. The story isn't there.
The story. Let's dive into your marketing agency, Enclave.
Yeah,
you work with some huge clients like the Chargers. How did this all happen?
You know what? My life is a story of just one entrepreneurial journey turning into another one. And it was honestly, Enclave is V2 of my YouTube channel, if that makes sense. And so what happened is I was the face of StockX from 2016, 2018. I worked with Champs, Foot Locker, Adidas, Lululemon, Amazon. I mean, you name it. If they sold shoes, they probably sponsored my YouTube channel because I was one of the biggest in that space. And so by the time it was ready for me to go to college, I went to Fordham in New York. I had about 4,000 pairs of shoes. Jeez. My mom says to me, "You're not keeping this in the house. There's no way." You know, we had an extra room in the house at the time. My mom ended up doing very well for herself, so we had a nice place. And I had this extra room, racks to the ceiling of shoes. She says, "You have 2 months, like get it out." So I start selling it, and it's whatever. But I didn't pay for this stuff. I mean, literally, imagine being a senior in high school. You come home on a Tuesday, and there's 9 boxes at your door. That was $365 for 2 years of my life.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it got to the point I wouldn't open some of the shipping boxes, not out of not caring. I just literally I had homework, I had the film, I had the edit, I did all that stuff myself. So it went on a shelf, and that was the end of it. So finally I said, you know what? I grew up a diehard sports fan. If I'm not going to be able to sell through all these, and I'm not, why don't I just give them to people? And so I logged one of my buddies into the Instagram account that I had, and I'm verified, stuff like that, so people see the messages a little easier.
Yeah.
DM'd every single active NFL player, said, "If you want shoes, let me know your address and I got you. Let me know your size and address, I got you." A lot of players didn't respond, but about 300 players responded, about 20% of the league. And some of those guys became good friends. I graduated high school, like I said, that same summer, and Pac-Man Jones flew me and one of my buddies down to Atlantis in the Bahamas. We spent 2 weeks
That's awesome.
having a
That
good
dude's
time.
hilarious.
Oh,
I played
Pac-Man's
a
a blast.
basketball game with him.
Yeah.
He's funny, man.
Oh, he's good people. Known him a long time, and he's still one of our athletes to this day. But there's so many stories like that where I built relationships with these guys, and one of them in particular was a Chargers linebacker named Hayes Pollard. I still am a global brand ambassador for the Chargers since 2016. Like you said, they're one of our big clients, and that actually started from a place of I actually interned for them when I was in high school. And during that internship, Hayes and I got real close. And what was so serendipitous, if you will, in the context of timing, is the week I get to Fordham University, I hated it. I thought to myself, I undid everything I worked for. Now I'm in college, sitting next to all these kids, and I'm like, nothing against the kids, but I'm like, they didn't spend the last 8 years of their life doing business. They didn't sacrifice prom, homecoming, all these different things like I did to be able to be in a position where I would not be sitting in a dorm right now, and I am. So I wasn't happy. And sure enough, I get a FaceTime call from Hayes, and we talked every day, and he says, "You won't believe this. I just got a little hurt in practice. He did something to his knee, and I got cut." And he'd been in the league 6.5 years at this point. And I said, "Okay, well, don't worry about it. You've got money." He says, "Well, if you wouldn't mind, can you connect me some of your sponsors? Because I would love to be able to work with some of those brands and, make some money off the field, whatever." Sure, no problem. So I make a whole bunch of calls just because I knew the CMOs and these different people because, I was a big part of their marketing plan. I said, "Hey, got this guy Hayes Pollard. You want to work with?" "Yeah, sure, no problem." "All right, great." Made him probably $30,000 in a month. And then he says, "Hey, and he went to USC, which is a big time football school."
Right.
So he says to me, my teammates are pretty much all stars in the NFL. Antoine Woods, who's a defensive tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. TJ McDonald, who's a safety for the Miami Dolphins. Nelson Aguilar, all these different guys that he was teammates with in college. Can you get them brand deals? One at a time, I onboarded them, and I didn't take anything. I didn't mind doing it because I was infatuated by the idea of being around these football guys.
Right.
Hit me a week later. Wynn Sports, I'll take 20% and this will be my business. I have all these brand contacts. I know how to build more. I know how to negotiate these deals and how to structure them to where it's favorable for both sides. So why not do that? And so we started that business. We had it. That was the model for the first year. And after the first year, I realized we had the right concept, the wrong model. We became a full service marketing agency predicated on experience building, leveraging talent, celebrities, et cetera, and then supporting it with press, with PR, with social media management, with ad spend, with all the other things that go into marketing a business. And so for the last 4 years, Enclave and Key has been, a marketing agency that serves clients like, Louis Trez and Remy Martin, all the way to Body Armor, Haritos, sneaker companies. We do a lot of sneaker business because I still have those contacts there. And we work with over 650 NFL guys. We got about a third of the NFL now that we work with.
Must be the biggest for the NFL, though.
We are the biggest for the NFL.
Wow.
We work with about 2,000 celebrities in total.
Holy crap.
Counting TikTokers, musicians. You go
Any
down the
NBA?
list. Yeah. So in fact, one stands out, and I'll give him a shout out to Andre Drummond. He and I built a fantastic relationship. And the last piece of what Enclave has done, which is something that I've had just such joy doing these last see, probably 18 months now, 2 years, is we have like a small venture arm of our business where we do angel deals. And if we do a deal, I bring it to a handful of guys that I know are savvy and like to get involved in different things. And so we own a good piece of a company called Trade Block, which is big in this space now. You can trade sneakers amongst your fellow sneakerhead community. You guys should check it out if you've never checked it out. It's an unbelievable platform. Breakaway Music Festival. It's kind of a nationwide music festival. They do 15 of them a year with big headliners. Hubi, it's a link in bio tool for top talent. Yes, we were seed investors in that. And so people like Andre Drummond who become close, why not do as much as you can for these guys? So we actually brought Andre Drummond in on most of these deals. He's an investor in all those companies I just named. And that's what's been a lot of fun. Is really getting to do a different level of business with these guys that most people don't care to even try and do, because we're not looking at it like, well, how can I make money off of Andre Drummond investing in Hubi? I look at it like I'm going to invest in Hubi because Hubi is a winning company. And I got a whole bunch of friends who are also winners that I would like to be involved in a win like this. So let's get them involved, Right. And it's been an absolute blast. So we have a whole bunch of athletes that do that with us, but Andre kind of started basketball for us.
That's sick.
And shout out to Andre Drummond. He actually owns a Chibi Dino.
Does he really?
He owns one of the NFTs. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, is he a savvy entrepreneur? I wish I could say some of the stuff I know that he's invested in over the years, because man, has he done well. But just as amazing of a mindset as anybody. He says, I'm playing basketball because it opens the door. Right. And to you and I, it's like, yeah, well, any pro athlete, it opens the door if they're a pro athlete. Well, Andre is one of probably 15 out of the 700 athletes that we work with, or athletes I've ever met, that have ever said something as simple as that. They don't register it that way more often than not. Austin Eckler, same thing, as savvy as they come. Yeah. And it's not to knock anybody else, but Andre is excited about the idea of doing business. Austin Eckler is excited about the idea of doing business. That's awesome. A lot of guys, they're excited about playing football. They're excited about where they're going to go vacation in the offseason. They're excited about training. They're excited about trying to be the best receiver, whatever it is.
Yeah. Andre's a beast, man. He was averaging 20 boards a game for a few years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like crazy stats.
Yeah, he was in Detroit. League? Yeah, he's in Chicago now. In fact, I think he's still starting.
Okay. Yeah, he's still getting a lot of minutes for them.
Or a lot of minutes at least.
No, I don't know if he's starting on a regular basis. He's getting a lot of playing time for them right now.
Nice.
He jokingly got put on Shaqtin' a Fool about a couple weeks ago. But it was all love. And honestly, I think he's going to be around for even a little longer than people think. He's always stayed in great shape.
Well, I'll tell you this. If he gets it his way, he'll play till he's 40.
Wow.
I asked him, I said, how many years do you think you got left? I asked him this past offseason. He says, man, ideally 8 to 10. And I said, what?
I feel like centers don't make it to 40.
No.
Never.
No.
Like, I can't think of any. Did Shaq hit 40? But he was washed by then.
Yeah, he hit pretty old. He definitely didn't hit 40. But I do feel like big men age better than like your Russell Westbrooks and your guys who rely on speed and quickness.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can bang down low a lot longer than you can, get up like John Morant's getting up right now.
Yeah. Well, and from a personality perspective, look at like a guy like Udonis Haslem. Mm-hmm. Drummond could be one of those kinds of guys, one of those real great kind of player / leader / coach roles. You know what I mean? He's just, I couldn't say enough good things about him.
I was upset when the Lakers got rid of him.
Yeah, well, that team is a revolving door.
It is. They're looking decent now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Have you seen them the past few games?
Yeah, no, they're fighting for that playoff spot, and it's interesting. It's like LeBron is so dominant. I personally think he's definitely the greatest basketball player of all time. I think Jordan's a bigger legend. I think LeBron's a better basketball player. But in any case, it just goes to show you. The NBA has a great future ahead with all these young stars. That's why we're getting into it. Honestly, to me, my opinion was the NBA was getting a little stale. When KD went to the Warriors, it was a stale league. I
couldn't even watch.
I didn't. Right. A lot of people. Look at their viewership numbers. It speaks for itself. They got cut by serious percentages.
Yeah. If you could own any sports team or league, what would you pick?
Well, that'd be pretty wild to own the NFL. I would like to own the Chargers. I've grown up a diehard fan. It's a pleasure to get to do business with them, get to know all their guys. But yeah, there'd be nothing like owning the Chargers.
Yeah. So you were a fan when they were in San Diego?
Oh yeah, since I was 6 years old. First game I ever watched was Patriots Chargers AFC Championship, the year the Patriots were undefeated. I walked in the room. My dad said, "Sit down, Blake. I'm gonna explain sports betting to you." I was 6 years old. We're watching at the house, and he says, "I got Patriots -8." I'm like, so what does that mean? The Patriots need to win, but they need to win by 8 points. And I was kind of, I'm 6 years old. And I'm like, all right, go Chargers. And literally since that day, I just Chargers. And I grew to love them. LaDainian Tomlinson was like a childhood hero of mine. Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. That Eric Weddle. That was just such a fantastic team. And yeah, now I mean it's gotten to be fun because now we run like their game day experience stuff, so it's amazing.
So you work with retired athletes too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, interestingly, a lot of the athletes that we work with that are retired were not retired when we started working with them. Some were, but a very, very small percentage were. And honestly, there's a whole echelon of companies that are perfect for retired guys that can't even cater to the current guy. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, you look at these sports betting companies, right? You look at like Caesar Sportsbook. Like, they're probably David Tyree's biggest sponsor, the guy who made the helmet catch. But at the same time, if you're an active player, I mean, you can't touch that with a 2-foot pole. You'll get suspended. I mean, look at what happened to Calvin Ridley. I mean, he bet on his own team $1,000 and he had to sit out an entire year. It cost him 15-16 million bucks.
Jeez.
So, you got companies like that, companies that aren't NSF certified, right? So there's a barrier to entry there with the NFL. Doesn't exist necessarily with Donovan McNabb 10 years later, so
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's your goal with Enclave? Do you want to sell the company, grow it, hand it down to your kids?
I used to always want to sell it. I was definitely building a company that was designed to be able to scale and sell by year 5 to 7. And we have absolutely done that. I ended up deciding instead to do a small round of raising just because there were some creative initiatives I wanted to add to it. And interestingly, Enclave currently is a marketing agency because I think that's the set of services that we can do that are most valuable to potential clients. But Enclave is just a network of the world's best and brightest that come to us for different opportunities, a lot of which revolve around experiences and potentially investing and some of these different things like that. But I just think Enclave is the perfect canvas and vehicle to allow someone like myself at 23 to walk in any room with anybody and have something convincing to say. Like a lot of people, ask me different questions about my uncle and stuff like that. And I don't mind it. I mean, he's a big part of my story de facto. And, he and I are very close nowadays which is nice. And, he brought me to his 81st birthday 2 weeks ago, or now about a month ago in Palm Beach. And we sit down and it's this table full of, I'm sitting right between Tomas Petterfy, who is the CEO of Interactive Brokers. He's in the top 50 on the Forbes 400. And,
wow.
And the guy right here is Mehmet Oz.
Wow.
Dr. Oz, who obviously just lost one of the biggest Senate races in recent history.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and Steve says, "You guys got to hear the story my nephew's got to tell. He's got the gene. Listen to this." And it's this table of 14 people. And I'm like, oh shit. and I share just the story, kind of how I'm sharing with you guys. And what I couldn't truthfully believe was the level at which these people were kind of captivated by the story. Like they're like interjecting, wait, so Hayes ended up retiring and now he's your business partner? Like, yeah. I can't believe you care about that, Mehmet. And it's one of those things where I'm like, wow, well, if these kinds of people are fascinated by what we're doing the right kind of thing. And I don't want to sell that because I'm not sure that I could build something again that will rival that. And I've already built something that does do that. So I think this will be Enclave is now definitely more than ever something I look at as like my life's work.
Yeah, it's an interesting intersection with celebrities and rich people. Some of them get really like impressed when you hang out with celebrities and known people. I've noticed that too.
Yeah, well, and the interesting thing is they each want to be each other in a lot of cases. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like someone like Steve, it's like he's 81. Like he's like, I don't want to be a celebrity, and he's just totally different mindset, and he is a celebrity. But you take these athletes like Austin Eckler. We got a fun event for him this Friday here in town. He says to me, I want to get all these business guys there. And I go to the business guys and I say, hey, you want to go to dinner with Austin Eckler? Oh yeah. And it's this interesting dichotomy of like, they both everyone wants a piece of some right. Of each other, and it's neat to see.
That's crazy, dude. The first few years I knew you, I didn't know you were related to the Wynn Hotel.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I've always tried to hide it. I mean, now I'm hiding it a little bit less just from the standpoint that I know how to embrace it as part of my story more. I think what it is for me personally is I didn't feel like and don't get me wrong, I haven't done what Steve's done, but I personally look at it like, and it's not even about me, Enclave has the resources and the foundation to really do something special that rivals what he's done. And that is something that I feel like is true in the last 2 years, I would say. And until that point, I hated bringing it up because as soon as I brought it up, it's like, oh, like, it's his nephew, it's this. Right. Now I don't mind bringing it up because I'm like, you're gonna have to play these clips in 60 years when all of a sudden it's stacked like this, right. and it's something interesting to look at.
That's awesome. So do companies like CAA and UTA see you as competition?
I would say so. I mean, the stack of cease and desist CAA sent us over the years would certainly suggest that.
We're getting spicy.
No, I tell you, I mean, we have partnerships with almost every major agency. Octagon, Wasserman, Wilhelmina, all those. We overlap talent. We do a lot of work together because we don't monetize on the talent, right? The brands are our clients. So if you're CAA, let's say, and they represent Jalen Green, and we represent, like I'll give you an exact example. I don't care what they think. So Essentia Water, right? They're a company we do some work with, and I got Jalen Green and Essentia Water deal right before the draft because Jalen came to me and says, "Hey, I'm signing with CAA, but until I'm drafted, it doesn't really take effect, so I can do a deal with you guys." And I didn't care because my thing is you tell me you want X amount of money, I'll give it to you. We don't take a percentage. Essentia has to pay us a retainer to work with us, so it doesn't matter. So that's why most agencies are so quick to partner with us. You know, talent agencies, football agencies, whatever it may be. CAA is the one exception. They want everything to be done by them. So we set up the Essentia deal for Jalen only to get a cease and desist the next day. Like, he's not doing this deal. He's not doing it with you guys. I'm like, well, that's like, Jalen, I don't know why you had me do this, but like, no problem. And so, but yeah, I mean, I don't look at them as competition, and I don't think that they should look at us as competition. I think they do because from a outside looking in perspective, you look at an agency that's got a big talent roster. They do a lot of experiences, and they're growing faster than you are. It's one of those things you might look at. But like I said, we have a way different business. Marketing is our business because that's what we can do the best right now. But our business is putting together a room of 50 people that are the best and brightest, and being a part of what comes from it. Being a part of building a business that someone's fundraising for, advancing an initiative that an athlete might have. Austin Eckler, people don't know this, he taught himself how to build apps. And so he's built his own app in the off season. And so we're trying to get involved in that, and so Austin's become a really close friend, and he lives here in the off seasons and stuff. I'll have to connect you guys. Yeah, he'd love to do this.
That'd
be sick. It's just one of those things. Like, how do you come into a room and provide value? CA doesn't look at it and go, how do I come into a room and provide value? CA looks at it and says, this is our roster, this is what we do, this is the end product, here are our numbers. So I just think our approach is so different. They shouldn't look at us as competition.
Absolutely. Charlie, I think we found our guy to land us our first sponsor for the podcast.
I think so. 1,000%.
Yeah. No, I absolutely would be happy to. I mean, you guys, I see the numbers on your Instagram and stuff. I mean, it's great. And, I think more than anything, companies just want to do something that is more engaging than, like, I call it the bang energy approach. We had nothing to do with that, so I don't feel bad saying it. But, it's one of those things where there's nothing wrong with the approach they took. But when you're talking about, right? I mean, sure, it's not an approach that Enclave would ever take. But it's one of those things. You want to figure out how to get creatively involved with a guy. So I'll give you a perfect example. Louis Trez, like I said, is a big client of ours. 10,000 bottle of alcohol. So they come in and we have an event like Austin Eckler dinner. They want to cater to the ultra high net worth. Everyone at that dinner is ultra high net worth. So they come to that dinner, and they have one of their guys from Cognac come in, and they explain the richness of the 100-year process and the aging and all these different things. And next thing you know, that integration is a marketing campaign for them. And they're not doing it for the sake of reaching 18 million impressions, this and that. They had personal interaction with 50 people who could easily be clients of theirs, and that is as flawless of a marketing strategy as they could possibly employ.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing that we can do. That's why I say CAA doesn't compete with that. CAA would have them pay them a huge amount of money and have Serena Williams stand there and hold the bottle up like she did on the Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, that's not as effective.
Well, and it's a different strategy of marketing, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely into the experience.
Yours is more intimate. There's nothing more powerful than putting a bunch of bright minds in one room, in my opinion. I mean,
yeah, and you're working more with the companies themselves, whereas you do represent the players and the influencers, the athletes, everybody, but your focus is on the companies and doing what's best for the companies, which is going to lead to the most longevity for Enclave and for you to have more repeat customers, more influencers. Because if we're all going to be honest, there's going to be another batch of influencers in another 10 years.
Oh man, every year in and out. It's the same thing with like the athletes, right? Like we have to be so proactive about getting rookies because we're gonna have 10 guys retire every year. And the guys that retired, don't get me wrong, there's still a whole place for them in Enclave, but we still have to keep those next folks in.
Right. So how do you go about getting more clients? Is it word of mouth? Is it paid ads?
We've never ran any ads. To date we've spent $0 on advertising of any kind for us as a business. But in its own way, we have, in the sense that having Hayes and I in our partnership is fantastic because it's like you've got a guy who spent 7 years in the NFL. Everyone knows who he is. We throw big events at Super Bowl weeks and stuff like that. So we get and those things I suppose are in their own way, they're marketing initiatives, but we're doing those on behalf of clients. It's just that, if you're in this business, right, and you say, oh, this is an Enclave event, for certain people that means something, because that means there's going to be a level of experience, right? Like, these aren't just like dinners, like, hey, come together and have dinner. Like, I'll give you an example because this isn't going to air by Friday, so Austin won't see this. We have every time Eckler scores, he does his famous little air guitar celebration. He leads the league in touchdowns the last 2 years straight.
Wow.
Right? Scored 40 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons.
Holy.
In 30 games. And so he scores, he does the air guitar celebration. So one of our clients happens to be a guitar company, Martin Kelly. Or Michael Kelly, excuse me. And so Michael Kelly's sending this gorgeous guitar that we're giving Austin at this dinner. And it's like, that's the kind of way that we do marketing. It's meant to be intimate, but it's meant to be impactful. It's meant to be thoughtful, and it's meant to be something that CA doesn't offer you that. CA is not going to offer you an opportunity, an intimate 50-person setting of movers and shakers in a particular community. Say, here's this gift, and here's the meaning behind it. Here's some explanation. And then, by the way, at an event like this, we have 5 or 6 major media outlets, Haute Livings of the world, Luxury Lifestyles of the world, et cetera, come out and cover the event. So the event ends up getting 30, 40, million in some cases impressions on the back end because of everywhere it's getting posted and stuff like that. And it's like, that's where you get your marketing. But that piece of video content's different. It's not Austin staying there with the guitar. You know what I mean? It's, oh my God, he's gifting the whole thing. And it's an experience, right? Everything that we do is driven by experience, intimacy, and value. If it doesn't check one of those 3 boxes, it's not something that Enclave had its hand in.
Wow, I love that. There's not many agencies that would do that, honestly.
There's none that I can think of. I mean, who would you say, is anybody else doing anything close? And actually, we don't want to give them a shout out.
No, look, I don't mind. I mean, you know what it is? I don't really think that we're an agency in the way that we really do business. I think it's an easy label to kind of tack on things, because when you think about the amount of times you're on a phone with someone and you're a marketing agency, oh crap.
It's like a negative.
Here comes a loss, right? Here comes a tax write-off. It's not like going to a charity. It's going to like like that's literally how people view agencies. There's people that are like that, and and truthfully, the reason that we're like that is because I've learned from people like that. That's why I don't mind shouting them out. Jordan Greenfield, who's the founder of Hubi. He's 30 years old and one of the most phenomenal networkers I've ever met in my entire life. Gordy Gronkowski, the oldest Gronkowski brother. No one walks into a room and makes everyone feel more special than this guy. I mean, he walks in a room, I made a joke earlier, he's here in town now. A waiter will come up and say, what would you like to eat? And he'll say, whoa, slow down. What's your name? Guy or girl? He's not flirting. I mean, he just, he values people that way. That's how he communicates, And so witnessing all that, I'm like, okay, well, take these things that work really well and are just the right way to live and spin them into a business and scale it out across the foundation that we have. And that's really what we've done.
I love that. So how big's the company right now?
I mean, we're an 8-figure business. We have 22 people on our team. I mean, it's one of those things that, coming up on 5 years, I never thought it's necessarily where we were going to be at this point. It's going a little faster than I thought. But at the same time, I mean, it's growing very, very quickly, because those first 2.5 years was all the seeding of the relationships, stuff like that. So as much as, I don't know if those numbers sound small or big or whatever. I mean, we are an agency, so staff doesn't typically get too out of hand with a business like that. But I mean, we had 6 people in the beginning of 2021. So most of the growth has really happened in the last 2 years.
I love how you built it. It's through solid relationships, you just providing value and culture. Great idea. Yeah,
culture's huge. That's like our secret sauce. We do something once a week called storytelling, where everyone tells a story of how they went above and beyond to do something for a client that isn't even a service that we offer. So next thing you know, you got a room full of people that are just telling stories about what they've done to advance your business, that you're not paying them to do that. You didn't give them that idea. They're intelligent, they're motivated, and their vision is to be a part of something no different than my vision is to be a part of something. This isn't my thing. This is really is a team thing. Hayes is a business partner of mine. Brock's a business partner of mine. Our investors are business partners. And so there's a lot more to this than just me, but everybody is just doing so much to advance it as if it was their business, that all of a sudden, I mean, that's why it's changing so much. The last 2 years of having 15, 20 people that look at it that way, it's like, whoa.
Sick. Let's end it where we started. What are your favorite sneakers to wear these days?
Oh man, comfortable, because days are long. So I like Air Forces. I'm getting into the dunks. They're kind of getting popular now. But only certain colors. Some of them are real kind of wacky with like the patent leathers and stuff like that. Like I just can't pull stuff like that off. So I like the more simple dunks. Like I actually liked the pandas until they became like the shoe that you see like literally everywhere. Let's see. You know what? I'll be honest. I am Jewish. I won't wear Yeezys anymore. I got rid of all my pairs.
Wow.
I can't do it. I'll take it back. I have one pair of the Nike Yeezys still.
Okay.
That I honestly just haven't thought about selling yet. But besides that, I got rid of it. I gave the Adidas ones away, sold the Nike ones. But yeah, no, off-white Air Forces I think are the prettiest looking shoe. It's just, it's hard for me too at this point in my life. Like, you know, I've gotten into collecting different things. I collect history. Like that's a big thing that Buster Share got me into.
I think coins?
Not coins specifically. I have a little bit of a coin collection, but just different pieces of history.
Right.
Like I got, like just recently I got the script from the pilot episode of a show called Blacklist, which is one of my favorite shows on Netflix with James Spader, Megan Boone. I got Megan's personal script from the pilot episode that she signed. Like I like to track down things that have neat stories behind it. I'm an art collector, so I have a handful of paintings. So now it's like, I don't want to spend $2,000 on a shoe. I'd rather save up for a year and then go get like I just
already have 4,000 shoes. You don't need.
No, nowadays no. I have a few hundred still, but no, I've definitely gotten rid of most of it. And I don't wear them. I literally wear the same 6-7 shoes every day.
I collect some weird stuff too. I have a suitcase of old presidents' hair. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I actually find that like really cool.
So it's like a mystery box, so you don't know which president you're gonna get. But
it's labeled though.
Yeah.
Like you don't just have like a box of hair. It's just sitting there.
No. It's labeled. You open it and then you don't know who you're gonna get.
That's pretty cool. This will be cool for my clip. I'm like such a history buff. Like I just found someone just told me this the other day, and I thought it was so interesting. What a sense of irony history has. Listen to this. So, July 4th, 1776. Obviously, the day America's founded, right? Declaration of Independence signed Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, John Hancock, all those different people. 50 years to the day, July 4th, 1826. John Adams is on his deathbed, and in the last hour of his life, he tells someone, and this is like a popularly, recorded thing that he says. He says, "At least the world still has Thomas," and he dies. 4 hours later, Thomas Jefferson dies also on July 4th, 1826. 50 years to the day, almost to the minute of America becoming a country. Two of the most influential people in it died in the same day. I just like this stuff like that I'm like, I want to collect stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like sneakers only go so far. Right? Like I understand the history with Jordan and certain games and flu game and 12s. Like I get that. But to me, it's like, I just think there's a different magnitude of history behind, presidents and things like that. And so I've been really, really into that.
I feel that. I love it. Well, any closing thoughts and where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Blake_Wynn. I know a lot of entrepreneurs watch this. So favorite piece of advice I've ever gotten in my life. I went to someone I really respect. And I said to him, I'm thinking about fundraising for my business. This is before we decided to do it. And he says, why? I said, well, because right now all my eggs are in one basket. He says to me, and? I said, the world says you shouldn't do that and everything like that. He says, well, you can keep all your eggs in one basket. But if you do, watch the damn basket. And like that piece of advice totally changed me. I was like, you know what? You're right. You can do that. Right? Like, and at the same time too, you can just keep adding eggs to your basket. You're your basket and you can add lots of eggs to it. And it was just like the best piece of advice I've ever gotten.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, guys, you heard it there. That's your episode, Digital Social Hour. I'll see you guys next week.